Wife slept with our neighbor, then tried blaming me for her infidelity. I used evidence from my security cameras and exposed her. I'm a 38-year-old guy, and I've been married to Jenna for a decade now. We've got 2 kids together, and on paper, we've had what most people would call a pretty solid marriage. Met in college, went through the usual ups and downs, and at some point, I thought we'd built a real partnership. I was wrong. Things have been rough for a while, but I was the type to let things slide, thinking the little stuff wasn't worth a full-blown argument. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have been so easygoing about some of her behavior, because it all led to one massive mess. At first, it was subtle. Jenna had this habit of acting like she was the only one doing any real work around the house. We both work full-time, but she'd tell friends she was exhausted from doing it all. I'd bite my tongue, but eventually, I suggested we list out what each of us did, to see if it was really as unbalanced as she made it out to be. So we made the list. And it turned out I was handling just as much, if not more. I was doing the grocery shopping, cooking, managing our finances, and coaching our son's soccer team. She was surprised, but instead of acknowledging it, she just shrugged it off, saying managing is different than doing. That was her way of brushing it off, making it sound like I still didn't really understand how much she handled. And it wasn't just that. She'd make plans without even asking if I was available or interested. Friends' dinners, trips with her buddies, even setting up playdates for the kids on weekends I'd already planned something. Whenever I'd bring it up, she'd act like it was no big deal, saying, "I figured you'd be fine with it." I let a lot of this go, thinking it wasn't worth a fight. But things were about to get a lot worse. A few months ago, Mark moved in next door. We were friendly enough with him at first. He'd wave, we'd chat over the fence now and then, and that was about it. But soon, I noticed Jenna spending more time talking to him. They'd be out there on the porch after I went to bed, laughing and joking like old friends. I didn't say anything at first, convincing myself that it was just small talk. I didn't want to come off as paranoid or insecure. One night, she said she was heading out to meet her friends at a bar downtown. That wasn't unusual, so I didn't think much of it. But something felt off. Call it a gut feeling, whatever. I couldn't shake the idea that she wasn't being honest. I had installed security cameras around the house a while back, mostly because of a couple of break-ins in our area. One camera covers the driveway and the side of the house, which has a basement door we rarely use. Just out of curiosity, I decided to check the footage that night after she left. And there it was, Jenna sneaking back in around midnight, with Mark right behind her. They went down to the basement, stayed there for over an hour, and she came back upstairs later like nothing happened. I was stunned. I didn't confront her that night, but I knew this wasn't a one-off. The next morning, I decided I couldn't let this slide. I waited until the kids were out of earshot and showed her the footage. Her face went pale, and then she went on the defensive, actually blaming me. She said that if I'd been more attentive or more emotionally available, she wouldn't have needed to go elsewhere. She called me paranoid, insecure, said I was controlling for even having security cameras. That was the breaking point. I told her I wanted a divorce. I was done. But Jenna wasn't about to let it go that easily. Instead of accepting any responsibility, she turned around and tried to make herself the victim. She went to our mutual friends, spun some story about me being cold and distant, and even hinted that I was somehow abusive. It was like she'd turned everything I'd done for our family upside down to make herself look like a saint. During the divorce proceedings, Jenna's entitlement hit a whole new level. She demanded full custody of our kids, claiming that they needed stability and that I was too busy to care for them properly. She painted herself as the devoted mother, while making me out to be some workaholic dad who was barely involved. But I was prepared. I had records, photos, and texts showing my involvement with the kids. Statements from our son's soccer coach, their teachers, even our family doctor, who all knew how much I was there for them. The judge saw right through Jenna's act and awarded us joint custody. I made it clear that I wasn't going to let her use the kids as pawns just to punish me. After she lost the custody battle, Jenna doubled down on her efforts to ruin my reputation. She told family members and friends this twisted version of events, making me out to be some cruel, controlling husband who drove her into the arms of another man. I can't tell you how many times she implied that if I'd just been more forgiving, we could have stayed a family. But I didn't stoop to her level. I stayed quiet, didn't retaliate, and let people come to their own conclusions. Some friends distanced themselves at first, but over time, they started to see the cracks in her story. When they actually spent time with me and the kids, they could see the truth. Little by little, her grip on people's sympathies began to slip. As if things weren't bad enough, Jenna tried to claim half of everything in our home during the asset division, including items that had been passed down in my family for generations. She wanted my grandmother's dishes, an old armchair my dad restored, and a small collection of antique watches from my uncle. This wasn't about her needing those things. It was about control, about getting under my skin. I knew that, so I fought back. I showed receipts, old family photos, and emails proving that these items were family heirlooms or gifts from my relatives. When she realized she wasn't getting her way, she made a snarky comment about me being greedy. I ignored it and focused on what mattered, keeping the items that were important to my family. After she moved out, Jenna didn't waste any time trying to sway the kids' loyalty. She'd shower them with gifts, take them out for expensive dinners, and then make comments like, "I just wish we could be a real family again," or "Don't you miss it when it was just the three of us?" She dropped these comments when they came back from my place, hoping to make them feel guilty. I didn't play her game. Instead, I spent time with the kids doing things we enjoyed, camping trips, cooking meals together, working on small projects in the garage. I wanted to show them that quality time wasn't about who could buy them more stuff. Whenever they seemed confused or upset, I'd reassure them that they didn't need to choose sides, that they were loved no matter what. Slowly, they started to see through Jenna's tactics, and the power of her guilt trips faded. Even after our divorce was finalized, Jenna couldn't seem to let go. She'd show up at my house without warning, claiming she was just checking in on the kids, even when it wasn't her day to have them. Sometimes she'd leave little notes around the house, criticizing my parenting or the way I kept the house, as if she was still in charge. Finally, I told her I'd had enough. I said that if she continued showing up unannounced, I'd file for a restraining order. I also insisted that all communication go through a co-parenting app, where every message would be recorded. This shook her enough that she backed off, though I could tell it stung her to lose that level of control. Jenna's last-ditch attempt to undermine me came when our daughter's school hosted a father-daughter dance. She told our daughter I might not show up, planting seeds of doubt to make her think I wasn't reliable. When my daughter asked if I'd be there, I reassured her without making a big deal of it. I made sure to be there early, dressed up and ready. When my daughter saw me waiting with a big smile on my face, her whole face lit up, and she ran to me. We had an amazing time together. Jenna tried to show up unexpectedly at the dance to make her presence known, but the school staff wouldn't let her in without an invitation. She ended up causing a scene in the parking lot, but I kept my focus on my daughter. That night solidified our bond, and Jenna's attempt to make me look unreliable backfired. The final blow came when Jenna tried one last desperate move. She claimed that our son was distressed, and that he'd be better off if I signed over full custody. She actually showed up with a lawyer, trying to intimidate me into agreeing. But I was ready. I calmly pointed out that there was no legal basis for what she was asking, and that if she continued to try to manipulate our kids, I'd go back to court to address it. Seeing her lawyer's face told me everything. He knew Jenna didn't have a case, and I think he'd grown tired of her antics too. They left empty-handed, and I haven't heard a word about full custody since. With each stunt, Jenna tried to manipulate, control, and undermine me. And with each stunt, I realized more and more that my strength didn't come from fighting her games directly. It came from just being there, steady and reliable, especially for the kids. The security cameras, the custody battles, her twisted stories. It all taught me that sometimes the best approach is just to stay calm, let her show her true colors, and keep moving forward. These days, life looks a lot different. The kids and I have built new routines and little traditions of our own. We've gotten used to our setup, and they seem happier and more grounded. We go camping, work on projects together, and I've even taught them to cook a few of my favorite family recipes. The bond between us has only grown stronger, and I can see, little by little, that they're starting to understand who their mother really is. They know I'm there for them, and they know they can trust me. Jenna, on the other hand, has faded into the background. She lost a lot of her support network once people started seeing through her stories. Some of our friends, those who were skeptical but kept their distance, eventually came back around. Others stayed loyal to Jenna, but I've come to terms with that. I don't need to win everyone over. I just need to live my life and keep my focus where it belongs, on my kids, my peace, and the future we're building together. Looking back, I see now how close I came to losing myself in all her chaos. But instead of letting her destroy everything, I held on to what mattered. I've learned a lot about strength, patience, and the real meaning of stability. I'll never be grateful for what Jenna put me through, but I am grateful for what came out of it. A life that's truly mine and a bond with my kids that no one can shake. So that's where things stand. Jenna may have won a few battles here and there, but in the end, she lost the trust and respect of the people who matter most. And to me, that's more than enough.